Today we're reading about Hezekiah. And Hezekiah was one of the good kings of Israel. Unfortunately, at the very end, he had a mishap, but we're not going to talk about that this morning. Overall, he was a good king. And there was a reason he was a good king. Number one, is the first reason he was a good king is because he relied upon the Lord. He put uh, God in front of everything else. And so it didn't matter how much money, it didn't matter how many forces he had, it didn't matter what his enemies were like. He just followed God and he relied upon the Lord. He relied that God would do what God said he would do, and that he trusted God and said, okay, whether we win or lose, whether we prosper or fail, whether we live large or we are destroyed, we're going to follow the Lord. We're relying upon God. Secondly, he was faithful to God. He didn't go around looking for other gods. He didn't try to follow other commands. He didn't listen to his advisors more than he listened to God. He was faithful to God. When God told him to do something, he did it. When God told him to move, he moved. When God told him to stay, he stayed. When God told him to listen, he listened. And he was faithful to God. And the third thing was he continued with the Lord. He persevered. He was consistent. You see, it's one thing to be faithful today, but it's a whole other thing to be faithful tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that. Faithfulness, true faithfulness, doesn't last an hour. It lasts a lifetime. And so we may think that we're being faithful today, but what really matters is how are we going to be faithful tomorrow? And so as we continue to serve him, as we continue to try to grow more and more in this faith that he gives to us, then we know that God is going to be with us. He will never leave us or forsake us. He will never abandon us and leave us alone. He will never stop being with us. He will never allow us to be destroyed. He is always there. So we can rely upon him. We are faithful to him. We need to continue to be faithful to him. And what happened with Hezekiah here was that because of that, God gave him victory over his enemies. God gave him victory over those things that were trying to destroy him. God gave him victory over those armies that was trying to wipe him out. And God will give us victory over struggles that we have. God will give us victory over hurts and pain and oppression. When we rely upon him, when we're faithful to him, when we continue in him, God will be there for us. Won't you practice that today? Put your hands in his hand and follow him.